Should you buy a condo or a home? That is the question. Most people shopping in San Francisco purchasing their first home assume a condo is the right move. It's cheaper, lower maintenance, and a foot in the door. Sometimes that's true, but other times that decision can haunt you. Today, I'm breaking down when a condo makes sense, when a home is worth stretching for, and the things that most people don't figure out until after it's too late. Hey everyone, by the way, my name's Epstein, and I'm a lifelong San Franciscan and realtor here in the Bay Area. If you're looking to buy, sell, invest, or even rent a property in or near San Francisco, I'd be more than happy to help you. Please don't hesitate to contact me at my information below. And with that, let's get back into the video. First, let's begin by talking about what you're actually buying. Before we get into price, appreciation, and all those other fun things, let's talk about the actual types of homes and properties that are available to purchase in San Francisco. It can be a little bit more complicated here than in most areas in the United States. When people say condo, many picture a modern building. One that might be in Soma, Mission Bay, or Dogpatch. Those typically carry amenities like a gym, a rooftop deck, and a doorman. And yes, those obviously exist in San Francisco, but many of them are not like that. Many condos are converted flats that exist in older Victorian or Edwardian buildings. Think of a 2 or 3 unit building where someone owns each one. That can still technically be a condo in many cases. And then there's everyone's favorite TIC or tenancy in common. These are uniquely San Francisco. Instead of owning a specific unit outright, you own a share of the building alongside all the other owners. TICs are often harder to finance and they each have their own quirks, but they're often priced below traditional condos given the same space. I'll touch on this a little bit more in the finance section. On the house side, you have your classic San Francisco single-family homes. These are usually 2 or 3 bedrooms, often have a small yard or at least a deck, and they could be attached or detached to your neighbor's house depending on where the home is located. These properties are the most in demand when people picture home ownership in the city. There's also another option that people tend to overlook, and those are 2 to 4 unit buildings. One great option to consider is living in one unit and renting out the others. I'm gonna get into that and go deeper on it in another video, but it's worth mentioning now. Today, we're gonna focus on condos and single family homes, but now that we have all that context, let's get into the numbers. The price gap. In San Francisco, a median price condo is priced meaningfully below a single family home. As of filming this video, a median price condo is just over $1 million, while a median price single family home is priced just over $1.5 million. That price difference is significant in what you have to bring to the table. But here's something that people miss. The headline price doesn't tell you the full picture. What you need to do is look at price per square foot. Sometimes a cheaper condo is more expensive on a price per square foot basis than a single family home. Albeit, sometimes this home is in a less desirable neighborhood, but it's still something that you should keep an eye on. And lastly, there are ongoing costs, which is something that people tend to underestimate about owning condos in the city. Next, we're gonna speak about HOA fees because this number can change everything. This is something that I wish every buyer fully understood before purchasing a condo. HOA fees can fundamentally change the math on purchasing a condo. Now, an HOA or homeowners association is the monthly fee that you pay to the building for shared expenses. It can be things like maintaining the exterior, common areas, building insurance, and sometimes it can even include water and garbage or even heat depending on the building. In a well-run building, this is just the normal cost of ownership. In a poorly run building, it can be a nightmare. In San Francisco, these fees can vary a lot. Older buildings, like a converted Victorian with 2 or 3 units, might have a very low HOA, sometimes under $300 a month. But for a new high-rise building in the Embarcadero or Mission Bay, you can easily be paying $1,000 a month. Now let me tell you why this matters so much. Lenders factor in your HOA fee when looking at your debt to income ratio, which determines how much they'll lend to you. To be very clear, a $700 a month HOA can reduce your buying power by $100,000 or more. That catches a lot of people off guard. Next, we have to talk about special assessments. This happens when a building has a major unexpected expense. Some examples include a new roof, seismic retrofitting, or a plumbing overhaul. The individual owners are the ones that end up getting hit by this bill. I've heard of many special assessments easily coming in at $20,000 or $30,000 and even more. Before purchasing a condo, you absolutely need to review the HOA financials, reserve fund, and meeting minutes. Your agent should be pulling this for you. With a single family home, you own everything. There's no HOA in most cases. Your costs tend to be more predictable. Your mortgage, property taxes, and whatever repairs come up on your own property. No surprises you're going to be hit with from a board vote. By the way, if you've ever dealt with a brutal HOA or a surprised special assessment, drop it down in the comments below and let us know what it was. Next, let's go over appreciation and what builds the most wealth. This is where the conversation gets really important for those that want to build long-term wealth. Historically, single-family homes have outperformed condos in San Francisco regarding price appreciation. And the reason does make intuitive sense. It's the land. Land is finite. San Francisco is only 7 by 7 miles. We really don't have the space to build any new single-family homes. The supply of houses is essentially fixed, which puts a floor under prices. Condos are a completely different story. Developers can and do build more of them. Mission Bay, Soma, and the Trans Bay area have seen a significant rise in the amount of condo inventory available within the last decade. More supply means more competition for buyers when they eventually sell. The last few years have illustrated this pretty clearly. The condo market softened noticeably when remote work became more popular. This changed where people wanted to live and how they valued their lifestyle. Houses easily held their value and then some. But for condos, it was a different story. If you purchased a condo in 2019 and tried to sell in 2022, you were lucky if you were even. More likely, you lost money. However, if you bought a single family home, it would be a completely different story. Now, does that mean all condos are a bad investment? No, not at all. In the right neighborhood with low HOA fees and a strong demand, condos can be an excellent investment. You can absolutely build equity. And if you plan to move out someday and rent that unit, condos can make for great rentals. They often have lower maintenance, are easier to manage, and attract the kind of tenants you would want. But if your primary goal is wealth accumulation and you can stretch for a house, especially in a neighborhood where inventory is tight, the historical data in San Francisco strongly favors a house. Next, let's speak about lifestyle and what your day-to-day actually looks like. Beyond the numbers, there's a lifestyle conversation that I think gets ignored. First, let's talk about space. San Francisco homes typically give you more room. This typically comes in more square footage and more outdoor space. You'd be surprised. A small backyard or a real deck can make a noticeable difference in your quality of life. Think about it. You can grill. You can have multiple people outside. Your dog has somewhere to go. These might sound like small things until you live in a city for a long time and you realize how much they matter. Now, condos, especially in newer builds, give you something that you just don't have in single-family homes, and those are amenities. You might have a gym in your building, a rooftop deck with views, a place to store your packages, concierge. If you're a person who travels a lot, or maybe a working professional who doesn't want to think about things like maintenance, then condos can serve a great use. But here's the thing about condos that don't show up in listings: shared walls. And yes, there's obviously noise, but I'm not only talking about that. You are structurally connected to other people. You will likely have neighbors above and below you. You share an elevator, you share a trash room. You even share a set of rules called the HOA rules. These dictate whether you can renovate your kitchen, whether you have pets, whether you can rent the unit out on Airbnb. Before you purchase a condo, make sure to read those rules carefully. Some buildings can be very restrictive. With a house, you have total autonomy. If you want to renovate, you get permits and just do it. You want to get a dog? Check. You want to get a pet? Check. Done. You want to plant a garden? It's your yard. That control over your own space is something that buyers underestimate until they don't have it. Parking is another one. Most houses in SF have a garage space or at minimum one parking spot. A lot of condos, especially older ones or older ones that have been converted, do not include parking or charge extra for it. In a city where street parking can genuinely be brutal depending on the neighborhood, it matters a lot. Next, we're going to talk about financing and the the quirks you need to know. Buying a single-family home is financially straightforward. You qualify for a loan, you make an offer, and you close. That's the standard process. Condos introduce a wrinkle. The building itself has to qualify for financing before you do. Lenders look at things like the building's owner occupancy rate, whether there's active litigation against the HOA, how many units are owned by the same investor, and whether the reserve funds are adequately funded. If any of those metrics are off, the condo can be considered non-warrantable. This might mean that you're stuck with a higher rate loan or have to walk away entirely. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen to you, but it's not theoretical because it can happen. It's the reason why your pre-approval and agent need to be looking at the financials as early on as possible rather than the night before making an offer. TICs are even more specific. You're not buying a traditional condo, but rather a fractional ownership in the building. Standard Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae loans don't apply here. Here, you need a fractional TIC loan. They exist, but the rates can be slightly higher and the approval process is more involved. In exchange, you usually get a better price per square foot. Again, for homes, none of this applies. You get the property, you get the loan, and you close. One thing worth mentioning here is there are many first-time homebuyer programs in California and in San Francisco, and those apply typically to both single-family homes and condos. Before you rule anything out based on price, make sure you talk to a lender about what you might qualify for. Some clients are surprised by what they qualify for. Now, lastly, we're gonna talk about who each property type is actually for. So here's my honest take. A condo is probably the right move if you're buying for the first time, you're price constrained, you want to be in a specific neighborhood and a single family house is out of your price range, and you're planning to be in San Francisco for at least 3 to 5 years. Going even further here, if you're a single professional or a couple without kids, if you rather pay for a gym membership that's in your building than deal with the yard, or if you travel for work and want something that's easy to lock up and leave. In these cases, a well-priced condo in the right building is a completely legitimate purchase. A house is probably the right move if you're planting roots, thinking about kids, you have a dog, you value outdoor space, you want the most long-term appreciation of potential, or you simply don't want to be governed by HOA rules and shared walls. If you're buying with a long-term horizon, think 7 years plus, then purchasing a home in San Francisco is what the data supports. The trap I see people falling into when purchasing a condo is to think that they have to. Many people think that buying a house is something that they'll eventually do, but they have to begin by buying a condo. Sometimes that's right, but sometimes the smarter move is to look at neighborhoods you might not have considered. There, you might find a house in a slightly less competitive area, but you can start building real equity. Having an asset like a home will appreciate faster and might get you into that neighborhood you wanted to be in faster than you think. At the end of the day, both property types can work. What doesn't work is making decisions based upon assumptions and not knowing your numbers. Okay, so let's bring everything all together now. The condo versus home question is not really a debate. It's a question about your life. How long are you staying? What matters to you? How much does wealth building factor into your equation? If you're buying a condo, understand the HOA inside and out. Review the reserve fund. Look at the building's rental history. Make sure financing is clean. And go in knowing that appreciation might be lower than if you were to purchase a home. If you're buying a house, understand that you are paying a premium. But for that, you're buying the most supply-constrained asset in the most land-constrained area in the entire country. Historically, that's been a great bet. And if you haven't fully explored whether buying a home is within reach, don't assume that it's not. Some neighborhoods that get overlooked still have single-family homes and price points that might surprise you. It's definitely worth looking into and having a conversation. Okay, so that's gonna wrap up this video now. If you found this video helpful, it would mean the world to me if you could like, comment, and subscribe. The best way to support me is actually by sharing this video to friends or families that might find it useful. With that being said, thanks again for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye now.